No,
Silly
so I just
me.
noticed it was underscore. What wasn't? It was like there's something missing. It's like, oh, joining together, it works better.
Thank you.
You're very
I hadn't
welcome.
noticed it, and nobody else said it.
I got your back.
And didn't you love that video? I love the video.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's so it's my alley. It's like because I know, I mean that's the way I live. So it differentiates, separates the let's say it makes choices easier.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you say no, it's like not match.
So it was interesting. It was a video about um, is the new deal breaker that somebody hasn't had therapy. And it's certainly something you and I've talked about, and it certainly will
Hmm.
be part of the subject today about
Yes.
the level of your personal growth you're often seeking in the other person. You'd like them to have done some, hopefully as much, maybe even a little more. Wouldn't that be kind of fun to find?
Oh yeah, because then it keeps you on your toes.
I know, very much.
Yes.
So
Right.
today we're going to talk about thinking outside the box, which could certainly lend you to participating in something in your dating life that might help you meet somebody that's doing the kind of growth you are or has done some of the personal growth of which therapy could, as you pointed out, could be part of it. But
Hmm.
there's so many other levels to
Oh yeah.
personal growth. Yeah.
So so I think talking about how to date thinking outside the box. Let's put that clear. Because we can actually
Yes.
talk about approaches to dating and dates you can do outside the box. So we can have
Oh,
fun today.
oh, I was thinking that too. Oh, yeah. See, we're
Yeah, yeah.
so often on the same wavelength of fun, out of the box things to do on a date. I
Oh yeah.
know. Because it is really interesting to share ideas with somebody and what have you done that was fun? What have I done that was fun? And gosh, I've heard somebody else did this and let's go do that, which
Hmm.
you're also going to find out how well open they are to growing if they're going to go do something new and different, right?
Absolutely.
Could be a litmus test for that.
Oh yeah,
How
absolutely
much are
good.
you willing to go outside your comfort zone?
And on the first date, or further down.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not. But maybe certainly talking about it on the first date.
It depends on who you're dating. It depends what you like. I mean, I know people who go on first dates do like adventure stuff that other people wouldn't even dare touch until the 15th date,
Yeah, yeah,
or never at all.
maybe.
So
Because you know
yeah.
me, I'm pretty cautious. So, yes, so I think those are very good, distinct levels of thinking outside the box of how to find appropriate people to date. Where would you go to find them? Are you really clear about what you really need and want as far as personal growth or adventuresome or willing to open up about what's going on in their life, past, present, and future? It was
Yeah.
interesting. I was talking to a client today, and she said, and I understand her point of view. We talked about that, but this guy, they were chatting on one of the dating apps, and he said, "So you live here, and I live here, and there's 80 miles in between, and would you ever consider, relocating? And would you relocate to where I live?" And she was quite concerned. We're kind of new in this, so we hadn't had this conversation before, that he was being too forward. And I said, well, that's certainly a possibility. But the rest of the conversation sounded like he was just saying, this is my preference. What do you think? And so
Hmm.
now she's going to go back and approach this differently because I said, one of the things I know about you good guys is you put out there, this is what I'm thinking about. And that he was even thinking, he didn't have a problem with 80 miles. He just wanted to see, would I move there? Would you move here? And not that he's thinking we're getting married, but he's laying some groundwork. And I thought it was kind of impressive, actually.
Well, it's a bold request, but also it's in a way speaking his mind, so she knows where he stands, which is a very healthy thing to do. Because we have a bad habit, I'd suggest, on both sides of the conversation, to be somewhat either assumptive or meek when we're dating and don't tell the other person what we're really thinking.
Yes.
I mean, part of that is also afraid of upsetting the other person's feelings, maybe, but also there's a level of presumption of mind reading that's in there as well.
Mm.
And also the feeling that maybe what we want isn't that important. And we upset the scale of the balance scales in favor of the other person versus ourselves. So his actions speak to something beyond that, which is
I
healthier.
thought so.
Yeah.
So she says, well, what would you say? I said, well, I've had, that kind of conversation before. And I go, well, where in LA do you live? Because there's lots of places in LA I would never live, but there's a lot of beach cities I might consider, because I lived near the beach before my husband died, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm. No,
So I said, having that kind of a conversation, a little more open-hearted, meaning not giving your heart away, but a little more positive spin on it, you're going to find out if this is a serious conversation that he's having with you.
Oh, yeah.
Or he's just shucking and jiving you. So I said, if you treat the other person with courtesy and just say, okay, well, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's saying something positive. Let's see if he can back it up. So I think that's a way too that people have people thinking outside the box, because we ladies, we get in our feelings and we jump at stuff, and especially what our background experience has been. You can all get so painted with the same brush, which is very sad.
It's unfortunate, but that's the thing, is we oftentimes live from our experiences versus what's possible. And that's the thing, is that I'm just thinking, for men, well, we don't get caught up in our feelings as much as the women do, for sure. However, I'm not sure if we have a really good vision of what we want in the future either. We tend to sort of play safe as well to a degree. I mean, some men definitely do think outside the box and get creative and everything else. But oftentimes I think there's a certain, I was going to say conformity, but a certain easiness that we'd rather stick to that makes it simpler.
Yeah, because you don't want to step on our feelings. Because you can do it so unintentionally.
Unaware. Yeah, not aware.
Oh, yeah. And we all have such different things as ladies that get on our feelings. So thinking outside the box, how daring can you be to say what you're really thinking and what you would really like in the future? I mean, my sister and her first husband on the first date talked about, you want kids? Great. I want kids? Great. I want to be a stay-at-home mom? Great. That's the only kind of woman I want to marry. First date out of the box. But that's not everybody.
No, I mean, the roads that people travel, that's the other part too, is that sometimes right at the beginning what you want, but sometimes the out-of-the-box thinking happens 3 years into a relationship. Mm-hmm. So don't necessarily lock everything on the first date. So even what you said with your relatives, like there's power to that. However, don't necessarily lock that in stone. I would suggest, be a little bit more flexible, be more open, and be more open to the possibility of thinking versus it's like be open-ended versus closed-ended.
Yeah.
That would be much easier.
It worked out good for them, but it wouldn't for everybody.
Indeed.
So I think the other way you can think outside the box when you're looking for somebody to go out with is that you have your really important non-negotiable. But one of the lists I have people make out, besides what you have to have and what you don't want, is what would be nice to have? What sorts of things would you maybe explore? So I do planned spontaneity, which sounds so not, I know. But it's because I've got all my ducks in a row that I can now go do something spontaneous. Yeah. That's how I explain it. And I've enjoyed having somebody who was a little more spontaneous. I don't want somebody completely off the other end. That would be hard on me. Right. And so the way that my late husband and I traveled was I liked having some plans. So he would do that. And he loved making plans on the fly when we were there, which I loved because I knew that would be fun and interesting, and he would make sure it was really safe. And so that was a nice balance for us. So thinking, what outside of my box would I like to bring in that would make it more fun? Not me as a more whole person, because I'm already a whole person, but what would be more fun?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So cool. I like people that play golf, because they like that I bring snacks and drive the cart. I am a straight golfer, but it doesn't go very far. So everybody gets really impatient when they play golf with me, because it takes like 3 times as long. So I said, just leave me be in the cart, and I promise you'll have stuff to eat and drink the whole time, and you'll get to play at your pace instead of mine, which is like forever.
That's a win-win.
So it is. So when I meet people that play golf, I go, so is it really important that I play with you? Because I'm just not gonna. But would you be fine if I do this? So that's another way we can think outside the box in the dating arena, but sometimes they want somebody that really wants to play with them. And I go, you are going to not be happy. It's not going to work out well.
Right.
Plus, I'm
No,
going to talk the whole time, and they never want you to talk when they're golfing. I
Teeing
know.
up.
I know.
No, I understand. It's like, I mean, living near the beach in LA, I do meet oftentimes women who like water sports, which is not my thing. I just never did, not my thing. But the thing is, I always thought about, it's like, the woman is a surfer. That's not one of the things I do, so I don't surf. However, I am a photographer. So I was thinking, like, with somebody who surfed, I would happily be like, to see them get action shots of them, surfing. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So even though that's not the same thing would happen necessarily, I'm not sure I date a surfer, but the idea of having that complementary skill set that adds to it, same as you're talking about with providing the snacks and driving the car, is additive to the golfing experience. I know there's for other people as well. Just because the person you're dating has a certain habit or a hobby or a passion that you don't have or share exactly the same, if what you offer can contribute or be complementary to it, that's thinking outside the box.
Very much.
Yeah, so very keen to do. But I want to sidebar a little bit for a second, which is about thinking outside the box when you're looking for a date.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people now have made the box their smartphone, where basically it's like swipe, swipe, swipe. And there's this limited thinking about the fact the only person they're going to meet, the people they're going to meet, can only come from the apps on their phone. And we've talked about this before in other shows, definitely, about where you can go meet people out in the world. But the thing is, do people really listen to that? Maybe we should go for that again to reinforce and reintroduce that idea that you can meet somebody without having to go through a dating app to find them. So one of the thoughts I was thinking about is that the fact that, and especially as the world is reopening more and more, although we might have a lockdown coming up in another couple of weeks in LA because of the I want to say body count, wrong word, but the the hospital count that we may be, the uptick. That's a better safe word. Yes, sorry. They made the mask mandate coming back again, but we're getting out the world and doing things where we can socialize and have hobbies again, things we may not have done for ages, to be open to meeting somebody in a social engagement, whether it's maybe you go to a dance class or you go and do beach cleanup or you go work with animals in the animal shelter. It's like, you don't know where you'd meet somebody if you're just being open to it. So think outside the box there as well.
And I've, in the last year, met two couples. One, they met at a tantric workshop. And they didn't go to meet somebody. They just wanted to learn the technique for their individual enhancement.
Yeah.
But they liked each other at the class. And they had this in common because they were both at the same class.
Right.
Exactly. I thought, I think I need to look for something like that in my neighborhood because that's something I want to learn more about. And wouldn't it be fun to meet somebody there that's wanting to learn more about? And then we get to practice. That would be even more fun. Amazing. So now she coaches just women and their sexuality. So she makes videos and he comes and talks on them too. So they hear the man's point of view, and they've turned it into a whole business as well as a marriage. And I was like, wow, who knew, right?
Yeah.
So that was so out of the box thinking for both of them.
I love that. That there's something very, I'll say kismet, but there's something very, very aligned about that happening in such an easy way. And that's the other part too, is if you do something where you both have a common interest. Now, of course, Tantra is at a different level because it's much more about interaction, relationship, connection, everything else. But anything that you do, you love doing, if you find someone who loves the same thing, then you have a passion to support each other in doing even more of that. So, yes, I think the biggest piece missing from a lot of people's dating portfolio is to go to do things socially, to go do things that you love doing. And as you said, like with, they both went to the Tantra workshop for themselves, not to meet somebody. So don't go to, social engagements or service projects or other things in the world on hopes to meet somebody. Just go to it to enjoy yourself, to explore, expand your horizons, meet new people, make new friends, and possibly meeting a date at the same time. So that all makes more sense.
You're setting yourself up for a pretty good chance of a failure if your only goal is to meet somebody to go out with and, oh my God, turn into a relationship. It doesn't happen very often. It just doesn't. So go because of what you're going to learn. Go because there'll be interesting people. Talk to the people. You might end up with a same-sex friend who you say, well, what other meetups are like this? What other things do you know about? And then you keep increasing your pool of people, and who knows who you might meet because of doing that. But don't do it
Yeah.
for that reason, because
Yeah.
then you just start getting discouraged and disappointed. That if you go to learn something and to meet interesting people, you'll never be disappointed.
And frankly, if you're someone who's gone through a divorce or a bad breakup where all the friends you have were ones in common with your partner,
Oh,
then when you're single again, there's no friendship around. You need to
no.
get out and socialize and make friends. There's
Mhm.
friends of mine back east in Tulsa have this group called Divorced Over 40. They started it a couple of years ago now. Basically, they had this idea because all three of them were divorced and didn't have much of a social circle. So they decided to build a community themselves of people who were also divorced and over 40. And so they've got like
Wow.
these meetups. They went to Jamaica last month with about 35, 40 people.
Wow.
So they've created a social community, not a dating community, although romance can happen. There's not a focus point where all these now exes get together to socialize, to support each other, and have these wonderful, like basically clean friendships with people who are on the same boat, who basically become bonded. And so they've created some really strong friendships out of this group, and they're building chapters of this community called Divorced Over 40. It's on Instagram as the account in different cities. They're doing it in New York, they're doing other places too. So they're building these social gatherings of people who have gone through that experience, who may not have a full social circle of their own at this point.
Yeah.
So there's always something out there if you think you're just willing to look beyond your own four walls to see what's possible, because anything's possible, frankly. Again,
Which
thinking
is
outside the box.
definitely part of thinking outside the box, for sure.
Yes, indeed.
So I've talked to people recently who have gone axe throwing. So you can go with a group, or if you just show up, they'll pair you up with other people. You can hang out with other people doing axe throwing, which I am fascinated by. I think I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
Escape rooms. That's another really fun thing where you can go with a group, or you can go and become part of a group. And you never know who you're going to meet. And that's what's really fun, is especially the escape room. I've only done it on the video, doing on Zoom during COVID. I've not done it in person yet. I keep saying I'm going to go. And what's really fun is everybody has different strengths. There's the people that are good at the mathematical part. There's people that are good at the deduction part. And so that was kind of fun, where we like, oh, I didn't know you knew how to do that. Oh, that's really fun. Oh, we're going to depend on you for that. So you form friendships, and then maybe something more could happen, because most of them are, both men and women participate in both of those things. Because I've said, how even is it? They go, pretty even. There's always men and women there. It's not too off balance.
Right. No, this is funny. Those are things that have come up recently that are on my radar as well. And I was thinking that's a cool thing to have done, because frankly, the idea of doing something that keeps me engaged, whether it's physical with axe throwing or mental and emotional with the escape rooms, that basically puts me in a good place, because I'm not just sitting going, well, I'm going to meet somebody, I'm going to meet somebody. It's like looking at your watch all the time. No, you're participating, you're playing, having fun. And again, expanding your social circles. Because the other part on this thing, of course, which is back to the old days, is you didn't know who knows who. So you make a new friend, this thing, maybe a woman or a guy or somebody of the opposite sex, but you have no interest in them. But their best friend might be your future partner. You don't know that. So why not go out to meet people, make friends? Because everybody's connected ultimately. The 6 degrees of separation sort of thing. The idea is you don't know who they might know. And again, the dating apps are not the only place to meet somebody. So be willing to think outside the box, have fun, and explore new hobbies, because know who you meet. And maybe you'll meet somebody through a friend of a friend, or you meet somebody there, and you can then do those hobbies with that same person. So expand your life, have a life, because some people, again, after divorce, don't have a life anymore. No. So if a lot of people, this is news, like, oh, I can have a life again. What a concept.
Yes, and make new friends, because it is a problem in divorce. Even, I saw it with my parents, and I experienced it when I got divorced with my first marriage. There really is a whole custody thing with friends. It's sad and true. So if it's going to be true, you need to be prepared that you're probably not going to have all the same friends. They're going to split up, and now you're going to need to make some new friends. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, well, my spouse didn't like to do blah, blah, but I like doing blah, blah. So now I'm going to go join a group.
Free.
The other thing I found too was paddleboarding. because I was asking a couple friends, I said, so isn't it kind of solitary? And they said, no, like, especially down at Baby Beach, they're getting their paddles out, they're getting ready, they're talking to each other, and then they talk, how are you? And how'd you find this? And it's sort of a mix and mingle thing, and
Absolutely.
kayaking too, they talk to people. So I said, well, that's a really social thing I hadn't thought of, because I hadn't done it. And I thought it would just, you're out there by your little self, which I guess you could be. But it turns out they chat away. I go, well, any place people are chatting, I'm going to be there. That's my kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of cycling, but I don't. I mean, a friend of mine does this more than I do. I've not done this yet, but she does all these cycling tours and groups together in LA. But the thing is, yes, when you're cycling, you can't really talk much because you're out of breath. But there's a lot of stops along the way. So there's coffee breaks and tea breaks and water breaks. So you get to stop and chat to each other. So then you go riding again and you stop and chat.
Yeah.
So the great thing is, first of all, is you have to be constantly social. You can just focus on what you're doing, especially for men. That's good. We can just focus on one thing, which is like pedaling. But then you can spend like 50 minutes, half an hour, chit-chatting or having conversation and meeting new people. And you're back on the bike again. So it's a great way of interrupting or breaking up the time together. It's a good chance to play as well. And for me, this is the thing is that I guess it's saying this way. There's a lot of things that be done in life that we forget about. And yes, that thing about breakups after divorce, one of the biggest challenges when people go through divorces oftentimes is that all the friends of you as the couple are other couples. And you become a fifth wheel when you become single. So it's important definitely to build your own social circle of single people, so to speak, people who are more in the social scene. I mean, some couples love playing in the singles scene too. That's what they do. But other couples only go out with other couples. So it's finding your tribe, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really sad that often you just lose that regular community. It's disappointing and, oh, well, you weep about it and then you move on. And I know people that are in bicycle groups and they really do you know about the naked ride in LA that happens every year?
LA, there's one in Portland, I know.
There's one in LA too.
I didn't know about that one.
I have a client.
Not something I want to do either.
I had no idea.
I like having something between me and my saddle, personally.
I said, really? It sounds sticky and uncomfortable.
But for some people, that's the way they meet somebody else. Heck, more power to them. Again, thinking outside the box.
It was very outside the box. I said, well, I'm going to bring that one up today because I can't imagine doing it. Mostly the uncomfortable part, because I don't think bicycle seats are comfortable when I've got a bunch of clothes on. I can't even imagine doing it naked.
No, I definitely injured myself because I ride a mountain bike that has studs on the pedal. And if I slip my footing, it's like it scores my shin. That hurts like hell. So, yeah, having leg coverings is good.
Yes, and other covering. Let's cover everything. maybe shorts and a short sleeve shirt, but that's about as much bare as I'm going to have on a bicycle.
Right.
No, well, we'll be back talking about with or without clothes on a bicycle when we get back from the
and a few other things too.
Yeah. And we're back talking about thinking outside the box, both where to find people to date outside the box, and then what sorts of things to do once you've met somebody that's outside the box.
Absolutely.
Thinking creatively and inventively and fun. It's supposed to be fun. Even the dating part, really, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah. And also
Not
underneath that,
dreadful.
which we'll say another piece underneath that too, which is a big piece, is about, to be simplistic about it, getting a life. Because so many people I know of, basically when they've gone through heartbreak, are almost unwilling to or don't feel safe going out the world again as a single person. They're so either caught up in the past wounding, or they don't know how to operate in the world as a single person because they're always with somebody for years and years. So part of this conversation is as well is about how to find your way in the world again when you're on your own. You know? Oh, did we freeze?
We're back.
You're back. Okay.
That was weird.
Froze? Yeah. Did I freeze for you? Because you froze for me.
No, you froze for me too.
Yeah. So basically, the system froze in between us, and we got stuck on either side of it.
So please continue what you were saying. It was fascinating.
Well, so the thing is, for many people, again, post-divorce, those who've been watching and you heard it, great. If you didn't hear it, here it goes again. Here it is the first time. Technology.
It's such an important point, you get to repeat it.
Yes. For many people, after they've been through a breakup, especially after a long-term relationship, they don't seem to have the comfort or the tools to be able to navigate life as a single person again. And so for some people, after a divorce, they'll just shut down and hide away almost like a hermit. And so what we're offering here are some steps you can take to basically start building up your own personal life again, your own social life that is yours only, not somebody else, which is something you may be missing. I mean, some of my clients, they were married at like when they were 20 and barely had a personal life before they got married, and now they're divorced and like not sure how to navigate having a social life again. So what we're offering here is not just about dating, it's about life you can have for yourself, because maybe you don't try some of the things we suggested or suggesting, and things we haven't even suggested you can think of, because frankly, if you don't do these things, I mean, rather, if you do these things, you won't be boring for sure. But also, you might make some new friends. And being single, it's good to have friends.
Yes. And you made such a good point of not only do people truly don't know how to date nowadays because they were married 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we also don't know how to make friends as an adult.
Right.
We were surrounded by people in our neighborhood and school and work, and it was effortless, really effortless. We had lots of appropriate people around us. And now you really do need to make an effort to have a life. And the other part I want to make, a point I want to make, is you can't have too full of a life. You can't fill a minute of every day, because when are you going to have time to date?
Exactly.
And it can't only be things that are sedentary or single, just you. Even if you're an introvert, find other places where there's smaller groups. You can go be part of smaller groups. You can be part of groups where they're going to have an intellectual conversation, because introverts hate all that surface stuff. Okay, go a place like Thinking While Drinking. I mean, that meetup group has really got fascinating subjects, and they always send out a 5-minute video to watch. They do Zoom ones, they do in-person ones. So if that's what you prefer, is somewhere where you're going to have a really meaty conversation and with people who that's their point of being there, look for that kind of a group to either participate, start on Zoom if that's more your comfort zone, and then go out and do some things in person where it's smaller groups and more intellectual, more deep. Because most of the single events are pretty surfacey stuff, because that's what us extroverts are comfortable doing.
But also things like book clubs can be fun to do as well. Those are fun to gatherings like those things, or even music appreciation groups. Somebody brings music to a group and you can sit around listening and have your own thoughts. So that's one thing you do. But the other thing I was thinking of, which is more like a borderline between introvert and extrovert, is like trivia contests, trivia games, where you go to bars and have like trivia contests, because those are extremely fun. And if you're not ready to go do physical stuff, being in a group that's like teams competing for prizes by doing trivia contests can be so much fun. I've done it a couple of times, and it is definitely a place to meet new people. I mean, and can tax your brain as well, because you're thinking, what's trying to figure the answers out can be a lot of work, but it's also very fun, especially as you drink more. Your skill set reduces,
You think you're smarter, right?
and you have more fun.
Way more fun. And everybody's there to have fun. I mean, you aren't going to go play trivia at a bar if you're not ready to have fun, because it's so fun.
Yeah, it's not that. It's definitely not something you take seriously.
No, not at all. And
I mean, you want to
another
win a
thing to do, yes, for people who don't want to have as much words, join a movie group. There's a couple of meetups out there where they either eat before, often they mostly eat after, and you go to the movie and then you talk about the movie. So you don't have to go, what's your favorite color and what's your sign? You can say, what did you think about the movie and the actors, and have you seen them before? And it's much more cerebral and not so surfacey. And you find out, gosh, you like the same movies, or you like the same actor, or you like a whole different kind of movie. And you can have that kind of a conversation where you have a subject to talk about. That's what's so good about a lot of the meetups. You have a specific reason to be there, and you can talk about that.
Well, those focal point pieces are so much more of a key, because the thing is, when you're sitting out in the world and suddenly going, I need to have a social life, and you go, where do I begin?
Yes.
So having something to go through, like a meetup list of options, events, and gatherings, go, oh, that interests me, or that interests me. Good place to start. That is the thing. I mean, we keep oftentimes, and maybe I don't think it's just me, but oftentimes we just look around at everything out and go, it's too much to choose from. I don't want to where to start. So start somewhere by going somewhere where you can get, look at local events. You can even Google local events that are coming up, where there's going to be, well, I was going to say, pub crawls, but not pub crawls, but basically having things where you do social gatherings, like where it's a bar trivia contest, like in your local city. Find Facebook groups you can belong to that do the same sort of thing that are local to you. There's so many ways of doing it.
Yeah, Facebook started up this whole thing. I can't think what it's called right now, where they had groups that were going together, putting themselves together in Facebook, sort of in competition to meet up, where you would meet like-minded people doing the same kind of activity, or an activity, that you've been interested in going to do. Yeah, I told you that there's a meetup group for people that have season tickets to Disneyland. And they just put, I'm going to be going on Saturday. Who else going to go, and where are we going to meet? So then there are people from the site, but maybe you've never met them in person. So there's like 6 or 7 people, and then you get to hang out with people at Disneyland, which you already want to go to anyway. And maybe they split up and 3 people go to this ride and 3 people, and then they come back and they meet for lunch. I thought that sounded really fun.
Especially if you already got the passion for that particular thing, you find people with common interests. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same true with cycling. I mean, there's so many things. If you've got a passion for something, a hobby maybe you suppressed whilst you're married, and now it's a chance to explore it. This could be the perfect time, because you never know what sort of group you might find yourself meeting, and people you find things in common with who also love cycling or Disneyland or book reading or whatever that is that you find yourself having a passion for. So yeah, it may be time to dust off those passions you had buried for many years.
Yes. What did you like doing as a kid?
Yeah.
In the summertime, when you had the days time up, my mom would get mad at us because we'd like, oh my God, I have to go to school and I have all these things I'd rather do. She goes, write them down. Because in the summertime, we're like, I'm so bored. But she'd go look at the list. So if I look at the things I used to, I had a very good Tom Sawyer mom. If you look at the things that you used to do that you're like, oh, I forgot I used to like to paint, or I've always wanted to learn to paint, or, I kind of picked up the guitar, but I'd really like to do that again. We had a fundraiser for the place I volunteer, and this group of, there must have been 30 people that play ukuleles, and you hire them to come play at your event.
Right.
They were having the best, and they played rock and roll. They played musicals. I mean, there was nothing these ukulele people couldn't play. And they were having the best. You could tell they liked each other, and they'd been part of this group for a while. And I thought, well, that's a hoot. So some of them were single and some were married, and they were just having the best time.
That's the other things too. I mean, musical creativity. Because the thing is, you don't. If you can't carry a tune, you can play drums, or you can, use a triangle or something. I mean, there's ways of participating. You don't have like a particular predilection for a certain instrument or playing skill, but having social interaction where you can do something that's fun. Maybe it is you go to the park. I mean, the other part too, jazz concerts at the park, or so, other events that are just free things. Because the other part also, we're not talking about spending lots of money unless you like doing that sort of thing, but there are a lot of activities you can do that are low expense or free even, where you can play and have fun and meet people of like-minded interests. Because the other part too is it's a good way to meet friends, is people who like doing the same things you like doing. That's what half the fun is.
And
And so
I love those concepts in the park.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, because up here in LA, there's down in the marina, they have on Saturday and Sunday, they have live music. There's a little place, they call it by the lighthouse. It's like a 10-foot tall lighthouse. It's like between two buildings. It's not exactly a real lighthouse, but it's on the dockside. And they have a live band that plays it. They have different bands, different weeks. So Saturday and Sunday is live music. There's live music at the parks around here at different times. So we have, I know and they haven't done it this year yet, but they might do it. At City Hall in Culver City, they have a summer music series. That's free. Just ride your bike there or park up and walk up. Bring a picnic, whatever. Sit out on the lawns in front of the City Hall, and there's a stage there. And they had. I mean, I remember they had. It wasn't Senegal. It was South. It was an African band. It was so beautiful, as well as a bluegrass band, as well as rock and roll. It's such a smorgasbord of different people over the summer, and so there are different ways of getting involved. So if you have a local radio station, basically if it's a public radio station, they usually have concert series and gatherings that are social. You can connect with them as well. And all the stuff we're talking about is social, but again, you can actually meet somebody of interest there that you might like. So dating outside the box is to do things that aren't I must go to the dating app to find this person, because it's so limited in thinking.
Yeah. There's just such a variety of things. And I've certainly gone to the concerts in the park with groups, but I've also gone by myself. And what I did is I brought extra dessert. So the people I sat next to, I said, "Oh, I'd be happy to share my dessert. Would you like to share your dessert?" And it was fun. We ended up sitting together and chatting and, oh my gosh, you live there, I live there. It was just fun.
I like that.
And besides, you're outdoors and the weather's perfect and the music's fun.
No, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, the dessert. The extra dessert's a genius idea.
Thank you. You may feel it. It works really well.
I'll keep that in mind.
Because everybody wants some dessert. Yeah, I would bring chocolate chip cookies, or I'd bring brownies. And I have to tell you, Barry, I never got turned down.
That's perfect.
Dessert. It certainly was before COVID, but I would even do it now. I mean, I could take them in separate little packages, or, a sealed thing from the grocery store here. Watch me open it, if I was thinking people might be concerned. But it was a very fun way to chat with people for an evening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess the bottom line we're saying here is there's no end of possibilities you can do. Just think outside the box, a way of meeting new people that might lead you to somebody you want to know more personally down the road.
Yes.
Because again, this whole dating scene has become so linear and so one track focus, which is like use the apps, meet somebody. And just to be clear, I mean, I'm in some networking groups who are dating coaches, relationship coaches that speak to this all the time about using the apps. But the thing is, this conversation here is about, no, what if you don't rely on one thing only? And again, for a lot of people who've been through long-term relationships, you may not have a social life at this point. So this is good clues, good tips, good ideas that help you step out into the world to have fun and enjoy actually social time. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So as they say in the financial world, you're diversifying your portfolio.
Indeed. Very well put.
Thank you. And one of the really cool things is if you watch this over again, you will now get to use all the ways of meeting people to go on a date.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some fun, creative thing. Go axe throwing, go to an escape room. I mean, it's a fun thing to go on a date, a first meeting or a fifth meeting. I mean, people are like, oh, I'm tired of going to dinner. I'm tired of going. So go bowling, play pool, go to a video. They have video arcades now. At least we have a couple by where I live. These guys have gone out and bought the old pinball machines and electronic, like Mario Brothers and Pac-Man. And they've set up places in like commercial buildings.
Yeah.
And you go pay for a certain number of hours. and you can just play to your heart's content. And I took my friends' kids because they wanted to play Mario Brothers, and I wanted to play Pac-Man because I remembered playing Pac-Man, and it was so much fun. Well, I felt like a teenager again.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And that is the thing, is that those things we're talking about here about going to meet people. But if you already go to date, you can take take your partner to these sort of things, because definitely social gatherings, whether it's bike riding or high tea or trivia games or whatever you want to do. So same as you said, those acts. I mean, axe throwing could definitely be a challenge on a date, because you might be trying to compete with each other. You got to what's the competition, I let you in that one. No, you didn't.
You
Exactly.
Right?
So this is a two-purpose toolkit we're giving you, or I should say a resource list.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, yeah.
You can use both. Everything we've talked about. I don't think there's anything we've talked about that you couldn't go on your own, go with another single friend, or go with an official date. You could do all those things. So it's a very universal list for lots of uses.
In fact, if you want to get really fun, say again?
I said we're so helpful.
Well, indeed we are.
I do pat myself up.
Yes, one thing I was thinking about, just again diversifying the portfolio, so as you spoke about, was something I was looking at doing, which I didn't do, was down here. There's a demo kitchen where they do cooking lessons, and it's all like, you pay your ticket and you go as one person. You could be 25, 30 people there, So that's another option. So again, think outside the box. Be creative. There's something you can do. If you got a thing you want to learn, a new hobby you want to learn, maybe it's guitar, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's some other skill. That can be a place to meet people. So keep that on your list as well.
Perfect suggestion, Barry. Thank you. And since you're a chef, you would like doing that.
Yeah.
Go do baking.
Indeed.
So if you'd like to go back over these ideas with us, or additional ideas, or you're just feeling really stuck in your dating life and you're not meeting anybody, or you're only meeting the wrong people, Barry and I help with that every day, all day long. This is our area of expertise. So if you'd like to talk to me, you can go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Click on what's holding you back from love, and we'll be able to have a complimentary conversation to get to the bottom of what's going on. And you can also send me a private email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. You can also find me on all the social media platforms and look at my videos and Barry and my videos, and sign up for my newsletter on Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter.
Nicely done.
I'm getting so much better. I'm practicing from you, Barry. And please tell people how they could reach you.
That's awesome. So similarly to Christine, you can find me on my website, or you can reach out to me through social media. So my website is barryselby.com. And at the right top of the screen, you can click on a link to have a conversation with me if you're trying to navigate this process and figure out how to do things better. My gift to you can just sign up right there. And at the bottom of the screen on the first homepage of my site, you can sign up for my email list and join up and get all the notifications when I do this. Well, you'll get repeats of our show, because I send the episode repeats out to my audience every week as well. If you want to find out more about my work, my site has my book on it. It has coaching, it has other things on there as well. You can check out on my website. And on social media, my website, my name, Barry Selby, is on all my social media handles except for Instagram, which is the real Barry Selby. But it's Barry Selby on YouTube, where I have all these videos, plus about 1,400 other videos. I have a lot of videos on YouTube. So youtube.com/Barry Selby. But also I'm Barry Selby on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, on Clubhouse, now on TikTok, on Facebook. That's everything, I think.
And the real Barry Selby.
Yes, and Twitter.
Yes, and Twitter.
Yes, the real Barry Selby on Instagram. So with that.
So we'll be back next week on Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between, with a new, fascinating, interesting, educational, helpful subject.
Entertaining too, with any luck.
Always entertaining. We surely entertain ourselves. We're happy. We hope everybody else is equally entertained, right?
Yes, we do. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.